Alright, so pardon this mic, I might be a bit rough. Well, I wanted to tell a story, so and I can't be doing like a bunch of long WhatsApp status update. I'm sure everybody reads that and like, oh my god, what does this guy have to say on his WhatsApp? He must be so intelligent and so cool. Well, I am pretty intelligent and cool, anyways. So I came across this story like a while back, and it was so interesting. I was like, there is no way I can let this year pass without doing like a retelling from memory, anyways, not reading the story itself, like doing a retelling and doing like how I understand the story, or doing like a little reaction on how like this story is so important in like the modern day landscape, and me telling you like, oh, go read this story, go read this book, it's pretty good. And I've said like story multiple times, and I've not even said the title of the actual thing. So if you are familiar with like short stories, there's a good chance you must have come across Isaac Asimov's work. And the one I'm talking about in this specific case is The Last Question. Now, this book was written about 69 years ago, and I think 1956 or something. That's when it was written. And for books that was for a book that was like written back then, is one of those books that it really captures the use, or really captures how the future is currently. Because if you go back to 1959 and you show a nigga in 1959 like a goddamn smartphone, he's probably going to have like a stroke. I'll be like, oh my god, what is this? Are you telling me this is a computer and I can see different things, I can get access to different information? He's probably going to spaz out and die or something from how cool a smartphone is. Probably, I don't know. I don't have a time machine. Anyways, Isaac Asimov was able to capture or give a pretty accurate description of the usage of AI. Now, when I tell the story, it gets pretty outlandish, right? So I'm not talking about the outlandish part of it. I'm talking about our prospective use of AI in a way where we try and use AI to solve a lot of problem. And Isaac Asimov brought like a twist to this story where he tries to answer some religious questions using AI. So I'll just stop blabbling, or did I say blabbling? I'll stop babbling and basically just uh, tell this story of The Last Question, how I remember it, because it's been a while, and I'm not reading it again to do like a refresher and be like, oh my god, I want to do a YouTube video now. This is just a spontaneous act of me carrying or stealing a microphone from my younger sister and recording a stupid video. Anyways, so The Last Question basically starts out with like dudes two dudes that were maintaining what was essentially a supercomputer called Multivac. Now, these guys don't do much in maintaining that computer. All they do is like plug in wires here, type in something there. They really don't do much. So they have the chance to be lazy. So one night while working their shift, they got drunk, or they were getting drunk, or in the process of getting drunk. Anyways, they brought alcohol and they started discussing about how, oh my god, Multivac, the supercomputer, is so cool. This thing has solved all our issues. The first guy was talking about how, Multivac was the greatest invention in all of human history. He said Multivac had basically solved all their problems. It has solved space travel. It has solved world hunger. And then the drunk second guy was looking at it like, yeah, so Multivac is pretty cool, but there's a problem Multivac can't solve. And then guy number one was like, what the fuck do you mean there's a problem Multivac can solve? I just told you this thing solved world hunger, solved our energy crisis. It solved, I don't know, I got a bitch. He solved that also though. Like, what do you mean this thing can't solve? And then the second guy was like, well, Multivac might have solved our energy crisis, but as humanity continue to advance, there's going to be the need for more and more powerful source of energy because we'll be consuming more energy. And then the guy was like, yeah, but multivac can just solve that as well. And then the second guy basically said, yeah, it can, but what would multivac do when the star dies? I mean, the best source of energy in our solar system is the sun, our star. And what will multivac do when the star dies? Like, yeah, but multivac will, the first guy basically answered like, yeah, multivac will look for more stars. The fuck you mean? What? It will look for more stars. Will travel the solar system, go to other places, get other planets, and then we'll colonize that, and we'll use that star as well. And then the second guy was like, what happens when that star dies? And I was like, we'll do the same thing. The second guy obviously getting frustrated that the first guy is not getting his question. Like, I don't think you understand what I mean. Multivac can do all these cool things. It can solve space travel. It can solve all this pretty insane stuff, right? But it can't bring back a dead star. It can't give us that continuous energy that never dies. Multivac cannot reverse entropy. I think that's like a quote from the book. Like I said, this is a retelling from memory, how I remember it, because I think it's pretty cool. Me saying how I remember it rather than actually reading the thing to you. Anyways, so the first guy was like, what the fuck do you mean reverse entropy? Like, I'm pretty sure multivac is so smart, it can solve that too. Now, mind you, these guys are supposed to be tending to multivac, right? They are supposed to be tending to multivac. They are here drunk talking about multivac cannot reverse entropy. Multivac can reverse entropy. That's talking about all that stuff. And then the second guy was like, okay, well, if we can, let's just ask the computer, because multivac is like ChatGPT. That's like a small interview, so you can just type in your question. So the first guy was like, yeah, let's ask the computer if it can solve the problem of entropy, if it can reverse a dying star back to like its young years or something. So they typed in their question on the interface for multivac. Can you reverse a dying star, turn it back, blah, blah, blah. Can you reverse entropy? Basically, they typed, can you turn back a dead star to its younger self? And then multivac basically started making weird computer noises, and all those computer noises like clink, 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 clink. They started making all those weird noises. And these two niggas thought they broke it. They're like, oh my God, what was going on? They thought they broke it because multivac was taking a long time to process their question. So they got like, when multivac was done processing, they got like a simple output of their question. Insufficient data for a meaningful answer. That's what the multivac replied with. There's insufficient data to provide a meaningful answer. And then the two guys are like, really? That's it? That's a bit anticlimactic. Like, after taking like 10 years to process, you just told us you don't have enough data to give us a meaningful answer. So they both were like, yeah, fuck it. They went home. And that was the end of that conversation for them. Fast forward like a couple thousand years into the future. Now humanity has totally conquered space, right? We have people migrating from Earth to maybe New Earth, migrating to like a planet called, was it X-23? Yeah, they migrated to a planet called X-23. And then there's this family that is doing the migration from Earth to X-23 because Earth is getting overpopulated. Earth is getting overcrowded. So people are moving from Earth to other solar system. So this man, his daughter, his wife, they're on a spaceship going to a planet called X-23. Now, multivac has gone from a super large computer that required like a full building to house, and it has gone to like a small box or like stuff. I think they call it microvac or something. Basically, it has changed size from a big computer to a small computer, right? So the father was basically having a conversation with his two daughters, right? And his two daughters and his wife, and something along the line came up, right, where Earth is overcrowded, the star is dying, and they have to move to this new planet. The man was explaining to his daughters that they have to move to this new planet. And he made a passing question to, oh, I wish there was a way for multivac to basically just revive Earth's dying star so that they can continue living there and having that energy infinite. Like, so one of the daughter basically asked their father, like, what do you mean the sun is run out of energy? That isn't the sun supposed to live forever? And then the father's like, no, the sun is a battery. Eventually, batteries will run out. Batteries can't last forever. And then the father was like, what do you, the daughter was like, what do you mean batteries can last forever? Like, the longer something stays, the I think entropy must increase. That's what the father said. I can't, like I said, can't remember. My eyes might be darting here. It might look like I'm reading. I'm not reading it actually. Like, entropy must increase. That means uh, the star cannot remain a star. Basically, it has to like die and go through all of that stuff. And then the daughter was like, "What's entropy?" And then the father was like, "I don't know, man. I'm not a physicist." So, the father was just basically trying to calm his daughter down. Like, look, man, everything dies, including the stars. And the daughter basically asked, "Hey, how can we stop the star from dying?" And the father was like, "I don't know." So they decided to ask the AI, which is now Microvac. So they asked Microvac, "Hey, what's up? How can we stop the stars from dying?" And then Microvac simply replied, insufficient data for a meaningful answer. So that's two generations where the stupid AI said that it does not have enough data to provide a meaningful answer. Anyways, fast forward millions of years into the future. I'm sweating like a goat. I don't know why. Like, I don't want to on the fan here because fast forward millions of years into the future, we are now in like the galactic era. And I remember this part of the story because it's pretty weird because according to the book, human beings don't have normal names like Moyo, David, John. They started naming themselves like, what Elon Musk named his son that time that was causing Wala. Started naming themselves like that. My name is VJX23 and I'm from Zapatron. I like to like go hiking on the moon of Zebras, and they were just really weird names. They were naming themselves like serial numbers. Now, humanity at this point has gone through a type of evolution where your body is on aging and on dying. They've solved or cured all diseases. They've solved for every single one of their issues. And the more they solved their problems, the newer problems arose. For example, they are functionally immortal. Human beings in this era are functionally immortal, meaning they cannot die unless maybe someone actually puts a gun to their head and blows their brain out or something. Sorry for that imagery, anyways. Which leads to more overpopulation and overcrowding. Now, it really doesn't matter because, like I said, the humanity in this era has become like a space-faring race where if you don't like this planet, you can just go to another solar system and conquer that or colonize that place. So they are growing at a very rapid rate. People can't die. People are taking resources. People are taking energy. And then there's this council of like galactic planets or galactic whatever, a glorified landlord association basically. And we're having this meeting where they're talking about, oh, look, the stars are dying. We still don't know how to like do star architecture where we build our own stars from the scratch. I wish there was a way for multivac to like, create new stars for us, or like reverse dying stars. And then the second guy was like, bro, that's pretty crazy, bro. Like, why don't we ask multivac? Mind you, multivac isn't really called the multivacs here. Like, it's just called what was it? active computer or artificial computer. It's not called multivac again, right? And this particular computer does not exist in the physical realm anymore. Multivac has gone from being in a huge building to a small box to basically existing in hyperspace, right? Where you just need like a simple button or a simple small device like this mic right here to talk to this multivac. I think it was called Galactic AC or something. I think basically multivac does not exist in the known universe. It exists outside the universe at this point. It exists above the universe. So, and anytime you want to communicate to it, you hold up a little device, you click a button, and then you ask a question. So these two guys basically contemplated on how to like solve their problem in this their new era. Asked multivac or galactic AC the same question the two or the previous generation have asked them, like, how do we solve for entropy? How do we reverse a dying star to like a young star and shit? And then galactic AC or multivac, if you want to call it that, basically took some time to think, and he was like, there is insufficient data for a meaningful answer. 3 generations. This thing has not gathered data for 3 good generations. Telling them, oh, look, man, I just need a couple more years, bro. Like, I'll get you the data you need to actually solve for this really, really important issue. Like, there's no need to do all that, man. Now, fast forward millions of years into the future. This particular one is also, this era is also something that I find quite interesting as well, where to travel through space, humans have like shed their mortal coils, meaning they can now exist as pure consciousness rather than being attached to like a human body. Human bodies still exist on like their own planet, but because of overpopulation and overcrowding, there's like limited space for like humans to move around and do all that stuff. So they rather exist as pure consciousness that can traverse the universe as much as they want and all that. Now, remember in the previous era, AC or multivac or galactic AC does not exist in the known universe again. It exists in the hyper universe or hyperverse, whatever you call it. And they needed a small device to communicate to it, to say for anything that they wanted. But now that humanity is now a being of pure consciousness, there's really no need for that device anymore. If you wanted to ask AC or the universal AC, I think let's just call it universal AC. If you wanted to ask the universal AC or universal chat GPT, whatever, you wanted to ask it a question, you just have to say it out loud and you would get your answer. Like you just talk to the ether or something and you would get your answer. And there is this consciousness, slowly traversing through the universe. I think it had a very stupid name that I can't remember. I think D sub or sub D, something around that name. That's the name of the guy that was just moving through the universe as pure consciousness. And it took notice of one thing, is that stars are dying rapidly, more rapid than previous generations, and it's becoming something of like a concern or something, and then this consciousness came across another consciousness, and they basically had the same conversation that the 3 previous generations have had, where how do we stop our stars from dying? And one of them basically said, hey man, if stars are dying at this rate, all we just have to do is build our own stars. Which is like, you guys had the technology for years, you didn't do that. It's now when you are now beings of pure consciousness that you know that you can now build your own stars. But anyway, what we can build our own stars, but one of the other guys was like, nah, why don't we ask universal AC how we can return stars back to like their younger selves when they are dying? And then universal AC for years, three generations, oh, no meaningful answer. When these guys asked, you know what they said? Guess what they said? So fast forward a couple billion more years, right? Humanity's Humanity has like merged consciousness into like one consciousness uh called man. That's what they call themselves now, man, for some reason, right? So all human consciousness has been merged into one consciousness, and the universe is dying at the rate that they cannot build stars to basically like compensate for like the loss of energy and for the rate that the universe is dying, because entropy is going fast, universe is dying, and multivac, universal AC, cosmic AC, whatever you want to call it, still has not given them the answer to, reverse the universe to its starting point, which is at at some point, maybe they have to call it quits and be like, maybe this universal AC isn't as smart as we thought it, or even though it basically gave us every single thing that we now use, know, and love. Anyways, that's besides the point. So humanity's consciousness has merged into one, and humanity is now trying to like see if there's a way they can reverse entropy, but they can't figure it out. They've asked multivac, they still get the same answer. The universe is dying, like I said. So now the way for man to save itself is to have all the consciousness that have merged together to form one consciousness. They decided that okay, they're now going to merge with the universal AC, that's the AI. They're going to merge with the AI in hyperverse, the universe above the normal universe. Basically, they're going to merge with the universal AC in the hyperverse. So each consciousness started merging with universal AC one by one by one till the last consciousness that looked back on the dying universe and then asked AC again, is there a way that we can stop this? Is there a way that we can stop the universe from dying? Is there a way that we can reverse entropy to, reverse entropy to like the point where we have our stars back, we have our universe back? And then universal AC took time to think and then replied again, there is yet insufficient data to provide a meaningful answer. And then the last consciousness got depressed and then just merged with the universal AC like that. Now, all consciousness has merged with the AI. There is no one to ask it any question. There is no one to give it any prompt. It is now, the AI is now left to, think about all that it has learned throughout the universe lifespan from when it was built. Basically gather all that AI and do like a massive amount of processing. And the amount of time it took for the AI to process that information, the amount of time is unfathomable. It's unfathomable to the human mind. It took an extensive amount of time just to process the information. And the question on his mind was, how do I reverse entropy? How do I go back to when stars are young? How do I go back to when the universe was young? It took eons, many uncountable years, right? And then universal AC got the answer. Now here's the tragic part. It got the answer, but there was no one to ask it the question, and there was no one for it to display that, look, I have figured out how to reverse entropy, because the universe is dead. Everyone is basically dead, and all the consciousness has merged with it, and the consciousness now just serve as like an information pool, basically. So the universal AI or the universal AC, whatever you want to call it now thought to itself, like, the only way it can express the answer is by releasing all the information it has gathered over its lifespan. Just release all that information, let it flow out of itself. And to do that, it took it like years, like another uncountable amount of years. I don't even think time matters at this point, but it took it a long time. And then when he finally figured out how to release all the energy, Universal AC said, "Let there be light." And that's where the story ends. You see, like, the reason why I think this story is like one of the coolest stories, it tries to tie religion, it tries to tie science and religion together, basically give them like this marriage. Oh, look, maybe God is an AI and everything. And maybe remember at the beginning, I said that this story gives us like a look on how we would use AI or artificial intelligence, in the sense that like we use it to try and solve problems. We use it to try and solve, we use it to try and solve like maybe day-to-day tasks. Maybe you use it to ideas, use it to try and solve your problems. And it's not unreasonable to think that AI is going to get powerful to a point where it will start solving problems at a rate that is going to leave us out of, like, how do we even use our brains to start actively solving those problems? But do I think AI is going to get to the point where AI now becomes God? Nah, I don't think so. I don't even think we can get AGI or whatever those pundits call it in the time frame that they say we'll get AGI. I don't even think that's possible anyways. Right. But this story is such a cool story, especially for one that was written in 1959, because the guy, Isaac Asimov, basically he shows that his imagination, given the resources he had at the time and the concept he was familiar with at the time. I'm not saying 1959 was like a backwards time, but compared the information that was available there to now, for someone to think of something this cool really showed how like brilliant of a writer the guy was. And honestly, it's a pretty cool story. I thought I would share with you, share with everybody that wants to listen. And yeah, that's basically about it. Peace.